Welcome to this video on the Philistines. This picture we're looking at is a Egyptian relief of what we're told the Philistines may have looked like. So we have this image which could be interesting looking at the way they depict it. We're going to be looking at a very interesting source speaking about the Philistines in North Africa, Joab's great chase. We're going to be focusing on that, and also speaking a bit about the history of the Bible, focusing on the Philistines. So let's first just get an idea of when the Philistines come into the story in the Bible. And it's in Genesis, in the time of Abraham and Isaac. We have stories of the Philistines. And even coming into the Exodus, with the Israelites coming out of Egypt, we have the mentioning of the Philistines. So if we look at this Bible history timeline, so we have the Philistines mentioned in Genesis, in the time of Abraham and Isaac, and also in the time of the Exodus. And then we have the famous stories of the Philistines in the time of the Judges, the famous stories of Samson and Delilah, and then also with King David and Goliath. So many stories with the Philistines in the Bible. But let's focus on this source, Philistines in North Africa. It's very interesting, and it could also be very important. Okay, so we're going to read this some of the source out together. It says, in the conduct of wars near the time of David, so King David, when an army would penetrate into enemy territory or chase an enemy to a certain location, it was common to set up a stone marker showing this. And we're going to read this very interesting tradition. Okay, it says, it is a certain and well-known fact that near the region of Zagora in the kingdom of Fez in Morocco, there is an inscription in Asherit letters engraved on a stone tablet which says, up to here I, Joab, son of Zeruiah, pursued the Philistines. Okay, let me read that one more time. So, up to here I, Joab, son of Zeruiah, pursued the Philistines. Okay, then it goes on to say, if this inscription is true, then when did Joab, David's general of the army, pursue the rogue Philistines across North Africa, only to stop his pursuit when he reached the land of Morocco? So we can kind of hear the way this is phrased, like this, astonishment or this amazement. When did this happen? Because it's very, it's quite amazing, really. Because if we go to a map, so here's the country of Morocco. So it's saying that Joab, the general of King David's army, pursued the Philistines, as far as Morocco. But how does that fit with the with the picture that we've been given, with the, let's say, the traditional view of the Holy Land and the land of Canaan? How does this information fit with that? Because, you can hear how this source is saying, when did this happen? Because, it doesn't seem to quite fit the narrative that we've been given. But it's not the only example. There's another inscription, but this one they say was in Tunis, in Tunisia, and this one says, up to here came Joab, son of Zeruiah. So we actually have two different inscriptions. So one in Morocco and one in Tunisia, speaking about the Israelites pursuing the Philistines into North Africa, so the most northern regions of Africa. So this is very interesting information, because it's it doesn't seem to quite fit the narrative that we've been given. But then we think about the work we've been doing on this channel with the picture we've been working on. Was the Holy Land, or is the Holy Land, in sub-Saharan Africa, so below the Sahara Desert? Then how would this information fit with that? Thinking about the Philistines being pursued as far north as Morocco and Tunisia. So where were these events taking place? Where was the story taking place? That's the important thing. I'd like to read you another source now. this one's also could be important to try to put this together or try to understand how it could come together. So it says, there is certainly reason to believe that the Tuareg could have been the great statured Ethiopians that Strabo claimed were by tradition said to have been settled along the coasts of North Africa and in the Atlas, so the Atlas Mountains of North Africa. In Arab sources, the Zenata ancestors are in fact said to be the Philistine giant Goliath. So we're having tribes in Africa, in North Africa, being connected with the Philistines, and in particular the giant Goliath. So the story of the Bible of King David slaying the giant Goliath. So another famous story that involves the Philistines. But now it's been connected with the Tuaregs. Let me just show you a map. Okay, so this map is showing the Afro-Asiatic language groups, and this is the Tuareg language family. So we get an idea of where the Tuaregs, are inhabiting. But we have these sources connecting the Tuaregs with the Philistines, with the giant Goliath. Now, from my reading, this is not what foreign people are saying of the Tuaregs. These are some of their own traditions that, of themselves, they say they're of the Philistines, from Goliath. So yeah, very interesting. And there's one little part here I would like to read. It says, as late as the 15th century, Genoan traveller Malfante also refers to the Gezula, a veiled Berber people, as Philistines. So different Berber people being connected with the Philistines. So how could this potentially fit together? If we look at those two bits of information, so we have the sources speaking about Joab, the general of King David, pursuing the Philistines as far as North Africa, so these countries of Morocco and Tunisia. So that would mean that if those sources are true, there would be Philistines in North Africa. And then we see that we have records of travelers and even some of these Berber tribes themselves saying that they descend from the Philistines, and from Goliath, the Philistine, of their own record. So then we have information saying that there would be Philistines in this region. So you can see how those actually correlate together. So it could be very interesting, but also very important to try to understand where were these stories these stories from the Bible actually really happening. So if we just think about the possibilities, was Joab the general of King David's army pursuing the Philistines from the Middle East to these regions of Morocco and Tunisia, or was he pursuing them and they're coming more towards the north? So remember we're speaking about the Holy Land below the Sahara Desert. So are the Philistines being pushed further north by the Israelites? So there's obviously depends a lot on where you think the Holy Land is, or the land of Canaan. So what I would like to do now is look at a few more things in this video and speak a bit more about the history with the Philistines in the Bible. So if we go back to this Bible history timeline, so we have the Philistines in the time of Abraham and Isaac, and then we also said we had the Philistines in the time of the Exodus with Moses, and the famous stories of the Philistines in the time of the Judges, the famous story of Samson and Delilah. And this would be the point in history where the Philistines were dominant. Let's read a few Bible verses. So just in case you're new to the Bible and you don't know some of this history, so we'll just read this one here, Judges 13:1. And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord delivered them into the hand of the Philistines 40 years. So this is when Israel was in the Holy Land, but they were ruled by judges. There was no king yet, but we can see that the Philistines were dominant in this period, dominating over Israel. So Israel and the Philistines, ancient enemies. But then as we move towards the period of King Saul and King David, this is when things are going to start to change. Because if we read here, it says, 1 Chronicles 18, while David was king of Israel, he won many battles over the Philistines. He brought them under his control. He took Gath away from the Philistines. He also captured the villages around Gath. So now in this point of history, Israel is becoming dominant, and it even says that King David brought the Philistines under his control. So is that what we kind of reading here with these sources? If we go back to this one, with the Philistines in North Africa, Joab's great chase, is this showing how Israel is now becoming dominant, and the Philistines are being pursued and chased to the furthest regions of North Africa? Maybe showing that that the Philistines are being brought under Israel's control. But I also read this other source, which is also very interesting. It's also speaking about the Philistines and the story of Joab pursuing the Philistines. But we get some additional information here, which I thought was it could be very important. Okay, so I'd like to read this part. So we're going to read from here. Arab historians attribute the origin of the Berbers, who lived from Libya to Morocco, to the Philistines. So we see that connection with the Berbers and the Philistines again, who fled to the African continent when David conquered their leader Goliath. The identity of the name of the Palestinian city of Gath, the home of the giant Goliath, and the same name of the cities in Tripoli and Morocco clearly denote that the fugitive Philistines gave, as the custom was, the same name to these latter cities as the city of their origin was named. Okay, so what they're saying is that the Philistines were bringing these names with them. So as they were now fugitives, so fleeing to a different land, they brought these names and they called their new places after the same city name. So, for example, bringing this name Gath with them. And I thought this is very interesting. So I tried to look at one of these examples. So I saw here we have Gath, and this is in the country of Libya today. So we can see that this is a different variation of Gath. If I'll just highlight it here. So we're looking at this different variation of Gath. Okay, so what they're saying is the reason why we have Gath here in Libya is because of these Philistine refugees or fugitives bringing this name with them. But is there not another way to look at this? And could it not be that this is really the original Gath, the city of Goliath? So I'll try to explain why I'm just kind of putting that theory out there, because let's go to the history of the Exodus. Because there's lots of different theories about the journey of the Exodus. Where were the Israelites really going? Okay, let me just find that. Okay, let's read this one here from Exodus 13:17. And it came to pass when Pharaoh had let the people go, that God led them not through the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near. So it's saying that the land of the Philistines is near to Egypt. For God said, lest peradventure the people repent when they see war, and they return to Egypt. So there's a close proximity with the land of the Philistines and Egypt. Now I just also went to the work of Josephus to see how he describes this. So we'll just read this part out. So this is speaking about the Exodus from Egypt. As also he led them this way on account of the Philistines. So it's saying that the route that they took, part of the reason of the way they went was because of the Philistines. So it says, who had quarreled with them and hated them of old. So there's an old hatred, an old rivalry between Israel and the Philistines. So let's just try to get an idea of what that could be, just to try and add to our learning, especially for those maybe that could be new to the Bible. We'll try to see what Josephus could be speaking about. Okay, let's read this one, Genesis 26:15. For all the wells which his father's servants had digged in the days of Abraham his father, the Philistines had stopped them and filled them with earth. So this could be one of the reasons for that animosity and that old rivalry or hatred. So the Philistines are filling in the wells. And there's another story, it speaks about the Philistines envying Isaac and his possessions, just to try to get an idea of what Josephus is speaking about. This, these quarrels. So it could be in regards to those wells that we just read, and this, hating them of old, that envying and that jealousy. So could this be why God didn't want to lead them through the way of the Philistines? And it says here that they also didn't want the Philistines to know of their departure, for their country is near to that of Egypt. So Josephus also says that the country of the Philistines is near to that of Egypt. So if we go back to the map, so we're looking at this place called Gath in Libya, and notice how it's very near to the land of Egypt. So it depends on how you want to look at the information. If we just do a bit of a recap, we have these sources speaking about Philistines in North Africa, Joab's great chase, chasing the Philistines to Morocco and Tunisia. But then obviously very important how am I going to say it? Where is Joab coming from? That's what I was trying to say. Where do you think the Holy Land is? That's going to be another important part of this, because if you think that the Holy Land's in the Middle East, then Joab's chasing the Philistines from here, towards Morocco and Tunisia. And then that's why that source says that even though we have a place called Gath in Libya, this is because the Philistines are bringing that name with them. But with our picture, where we're looking at the Holy Land in sub-Saharan Africa, we can maybe look at it in a different way. We could consider that, I'm just saying potentially, I'm not saying for definite, could this actually be the original Gath of the Philistines? This could be the land of the Philistines, and then we can see how it's in close proximity to Egypt. And maybe this is the way that God didn't want the Israelites to go, and he took them a different way. And let's read the next part. And it says, "But he was desirous that they should go through the desert, that so after a long journey and after many afflictions they might enter upon the land of Canaan." So what makes sense? What's the truth to all this? Because we are learning that the crossing of the Red Sea seems very unlikely, because it's too large a body of water, and also with the information that came out that it could not be saying the Red Sea but the Sea of Reeds. Now we're thinking about this Gath in Libya. So could Libya be connected to the land of the Philistines? So we just go back to that map. Not that one, this one. So if the land of the Philistines could be connected with Libya, so the Israelites didn't want to go this way, so then they could be coming to the south. And is the desert that Josephus speaks about the Sahara Desert? Is that the desert that the Israelites went through? And could that explain this long journey that they were about to go on? If we think about the size of the Sahara, the many afflictions that they would suffer along the way. So that's going to be, for each person to see what they think is true. But I do think that that can make sense. That we can see the close proximity with Libya and Egypt. And if Israel couldn't go that way, and then they came to the south, we do know we have a very large desert which would take a long time to cross, and that could explain the the length of the journey, and also how the Israelites could be in the wilderness for 40 years. It would need to be a very large region. So yeah, I think that's very it could be very important, this information, thinking about the Philistines in North Africa, and also them being connected to the Tuaregs, and also to, well, the Tuaregs are a Berber people. So we have this region of the Berbers. And how could this information help us to try to see where was this history really happening? So I hope you're finding this one interesting, if you're new to this information, and also that you can see how important it could be. And now we have to think about the Berbers. So I'd like to finish with this part from this source. It says, "A great deal has been written and said about the term Berber and the Berber people, but both the term and the ethnic group are still shrouded with mystery." So there's a mystery with the Berber people, and maybe we're just starting to see, we're just maybe learning a little bit why, there's so much mystery surrounding them, and maybe just revealing one element of that mystery. Could the Berber people be connected with the Philistines and this history of the Bible? So in the next few videos, we'll investigate the Philistines a bit more, and also we'll investigate and speak about this mysterious people of the Berbers. So thank you for watching this first part of this, let's say like a mini series, and we'll see you in the next part.